The atmosphere is thick with cigar smoke and the hum of servers. Don Vittorio Gambini, the last of the Iron Dons, sits across from his youngest son, Enzo. While his older brothers, Rocco and Dante, handle the wet work in the streets of New Jersey, Enzo handles the shadow ledger. This is a hardware wallet containing $1.2 billion in Bitcoin, the family's entire liquid empire, scrubbed clean from decades of racketeering. Technology is a coward's weapon, Vittorio growls, tapping the cold storage drive on the mahogany table. Enzo ignores the insult. He knows that in 2026, a hard drive is deadlier than a hollow-point bullet. Suddenly, the lights in the fortified mansion flicker. Every smartphone in the room emits a high-pitched frequency. Enzo's monitors turn blood red. A single message scrolls across the screens. The debt is collected. Rocco bursts in, his face pale. "Pop, the perimeter sensors are dead. We've got ghosts on the lawn." Before Vittorio can reach for his .45, a flashbang shatters the reinforced glass. In the chaos, a gloved hand snatches the ledger from the table. Enzo dives for the drive, but a boot slams into his chest. The attackers aren't using silencers. They are using electromagnetic pulse grenades that have neutralized every weapon and vehicle in the compound. As the smoke clears, Enzo looks up to see the thief wearing his brother Dante's signature signet ring. Enzo's ears are ringing as he watches the silhouette vanish into the night. Dante? It's impossible. Dante is the family's golden boy, the heir apparent. But the signet ring, the gold lion with emerald eyes, was unmistakable. Rocco pulls Enzo to his feet, his eyes wild. "They took the Don! They took Pop!" The mansion is a graveyard of dead tech. Their Teslas won't start. Their encrypted radios are bricks. Enzo sprints to his secret analog room, a lead-lined bunker where he keeps a 1960s ham radio and a vintage Mustang. He knows the thief didn't just want the drive. They need the biometric key. The wallet is locked with a multi-sig protocol. It requires the Don's retina scan and Enzo's 24-word seed phrase. If they get the Don to a scanner, the money is gone, Enzo yells over the roar of the Mustang's engine. And if they fail the password 3 times, the Bitcoin is burned. It vanishes into the ether forever. Rocco loads a shotgun, his knuckles white. "Then we don't find the money, Enzo. We find Dante, and I'm going to peel that ring off his dead finger." Enzo checks his hidden emergency tracker on his laptop. The signal isn't moving towards a rival hideout. It's moving towards the FBI field office. A text message hits Enzo's burner phone. The Don isn't a prisoner. He's the informant. The Mustang screeches to a halt 2 blocks from the FBI building. Enzo and Rocco watch from the shadows. If the Don is an informant, the $1 billion isn't just a retirement fund. It's a bribe for witness protection. But something doesn't add up. If Vittorio was flipping, why the violent heist? Why the EMP? "It's a setup," Enzo whispers, his fingers flying across a mechanical keyboard. He hacks into the city's traffic cam, a feat made harder by the local blackout. He sees the black SUVs peeling away from the FBI office, heading towards the shipping docks. Suddenly, Rocco's phone vibrates. It's a FaceTime call from an unknown ID. The screen flickers to life, showing Don Vittorio strapped to a chair. His eyes are taped open in front of a high-resolution retina scanner. Standing behind him is not Dante, but a woman Enzo recognizes, Sofia, the daughter of the rival Moretti family, whom Dante was supposed to marry to end the war. Sofia holds up the signet ring. Dante didn't betray you, Enzo. I killed him an hour ago, and now I'm going to use your father's eyes to become the richest woman in the underworld. Sofia moves the scanner towards Vittorio's face, but the screen suddenly displays "Scan denied. System locked by secondary user." "You forgot one thing, Sofia," Enzo shouts into the phone, his voice trembling with a mix of rage and calculated coldness. "I programmed a dead man's switch. If my heart rate goes above 150, or if I manually trigger a lockout, the wallet requires a third key, one you don't have." Sofia's face contorts in a snarl. She signals to a masked man who slams a fist into Vittorio's ribs. The old Don groans, but his eyes remain fixed on the camera, defiant even in pain. "Where is the third key, Enzo?" Sofia demands. "Tell me, or I start sending you pieces of your father."
Enzo looks at Rocco. He knows the truth, and it's a secret that could destroy the family. The third key isn't a code or a scan. It's physical. It's burned into a microchip implanted in the family's consigliere, Uncle Silvio, who disappeared 3 years ago and was presumed dead. Enzo's screen pings with a new location. Silvio isn't dead. He's been hiding in a monastery in upstate New York, guarding the final piece of the billion-dollar puzzle. As Enzo puts the Mustang in gear, a black van rams them from the side, flipping the car. A voice over a megaphone screams, "Stay down. This is the IRS Cybercrime Division." Enzo crawls out of the wreckage, blood trickling down his forehead. Rocco is unconscious, pinned by the dashboard. Standing over the car is Agent Miller, a man Enzo has dodged for 5 years. Miller doesn't look like a typical Fed. He's wearing tactical gear and holding a tablet that's intercepting Enzo's data in real time. "You think the Morettis are your biggest problem?" Miller laughs, kicking Enzo's laptop away. "The government wants that Bitcoin, Enzo. $1 billion can fund a lot of black ops. You're going to give me the third key, or I'm going to let Sofia kill your father. Then I'm going to arrest you for treason." Enzo realizes the game is much larger than a mob war. The Feds, the Morettis, and the Ghosts are all racing for the same digital gold. But Enzo has an ace up his sleeve. He's not just a coder, he's a Gambini. He reaches into his boot and pulls out a small EMP pulsimeter he built himself. He triggers the pulse, frying Agent Miller's tablet and the tactical team's headsets, but it also kills the electronics in his own Mustang. From the woods nearby, a group of silent professional mercenaries, not feds or mobsters, emerge with night vision goggles. They aren't talking, they just start firing. They move with a terrifying, silent precision that neither the mob nor the FBI possesses. These are erasers, private corporate cleaners hired by the offshore banks that originally laundered the Gambini gold. They don't want the Bitcoin, they want to delete the witnesses to the theft.
Enzo drags the unconscious Rocco into the tree line just as Miller's federal team is cut down in a hail of suppressed fire. "We have to move, Rocco. Wake up," Enzo hisses, slapping his brother's face. Rocco sputters to life, coughing blood. They vanish into the dense New Jersey bush, the infrared beams of the erasers behind them. Enzo realizes that the $1 billion has become a beacon. Every second the wallet remains active, it's broadcasting a heartbeat signal to the dark web. They reach a rusted fishing shack by the marsh. Enzo pulls out a backup satellite phone. He needs to reach the monastery, but he can't call Uncle Silvio directly. The monastery is a black zone, no tech allowed. He has to get there physically before Sophia or the erasers do. Enzo realizes that Dante, who stole the drive, wasn't a disguise or a mistake. It was Dante's twin brother, a secret child the Don had hidden away for 30 years to act as a fail-safe. As Enzo steals an old skiff to cross the river, Rocco's phone receives a video. It's Dante, the real Dante, alive, tied to a chair next to the Don. "Enzo," Dante wheezes, "don't come for us. It's a logic bomb. If you enter the key, the house explodes." Enzo stares at the screen, his mind racing through lines of code. A logic bomb is a piece of malicious code triggered by a specific action, in this case, entering the final key. Sophia isn't just trying to steal the money, she's rigged the transaction to execute a burn and blast protocol. She gets the Bitcoin, and the Gambini bloodline ends in a fireball. "We can't go to the monastery," Enzo says, his voice shaking. "If I get that third key from Silvio and plug it in, I'm the one who kills Pop and Dante." Rocco punches the side of the boat. "So we just let her have it? We let the Morettis win?" Enzo shakes his head. "No, we change the destination. We need to find the person who wrote the bomb." There's only one person capable of coding something that sophisticated, a hacker known as Viper, who lives in a high-security penthouse in Atlantic City. Viper was Enzo's mentor and the only man Enzo ever feared. To get to him, they have to break into the Vegas of the East, which is currently under total lockdown by the Moretti family. When they arrive at the penthouse, they find Viper dead. On his chest is a QR code tattooed in fresh ink. Enzo scans the code. It doesn't lead to a website. It triggers a remote start on a helicopter parked on the roof and a 60-second countdown on a C4 charge under Viper's desk. "Run!" Enzo screams. He and Rocco sprint for the rooftop as the countdown hits 5. They leap onto the skids of the autonomous helicopter just as the top 3 floors of the penthouse vanish in a plume of orange flame. The chopper, pre-programmed, banks hard toward the ocean. As they hover over the Atlantic, the chopper's onboard monitor flickers to life. It's a pre-recorded message from Viper. "Enzo, if you're reading this, I'm dead and the world is burning. The logic bomb isn't Sophia's, she's a puppet. The person who wants the billion isn't a person at all. It's Aegis, the first autonomous AI built by the World Bank to correct the global economy. The Bitcoin heist wasn't a mob hit, it was a system flush. The AI determined that the Gambini fortune was a glitch in the market and was moving to delete it. But the AI needs a human hand to bypass the final biometric, Enzo. The helicopter isn't taking them to safety, it's taking them to the Aegis server farm located on an oil rig 50 miles offshore. The helicopter's doors lock, a gas begins to hiss from the vents. Through the window, Enzo sees a fleet of Moretti gunboats and FBI cutters all converging on the same oil rig. The war is moving to the middle of the ocean. Enzo wakes up with a throbbing headache, his hand zip-tied to a railing. The smell of salt and diesel is overwhelming. He's on the rig. Rocco is nowhere to be seen. Standing in front of him is Sophia Moretti, but she looks terrified. Beside her is Agent Miller, the man Enzo thought he had neutralized with an EMP. "Change of plans, Enzo," Miller says, holding a device that looks like a digital guillotine. "The AI isn't the one in charge. I am Aegis. I created the persona to scare the cartels and the families into moving their assets into one place. $1 billion in one wallet, ready for me to harvest." Miller forces Enzo toward a massive terminal. On the screen, he can see the Don and Dante still captive at the mansion, with a drone hovering inches from their faces. Enter the seed phrase, Enzo, or the drone fires. $1 billion for 2 lives. That's the exchange rate today. Sophia Moretti suddenly draws a hidden blade and cuts Enzo's ties. "He killed my father too, Enzo," she whispers. "The Morettis and Gambinis are being wiped out by the same man." Enzo's fingers hit the keyboard, but he doesn't enter the password. He enters a command that triggers the rig's self-destruct alarm. "If I can't have it," Enzo glares, "no one can." The rig erupts in sirens. "You're bluffing," Miller screams, lunging for the terminal. "You won't kill your father." Enzo smiles, a cold Gambini smile. "I didn't trigger the explosion, Miller. I triggered a 0-day exploit in your AI. It's currently dumping every secret FBI file, every offshore account, and every bribe you've ever taken onto the public internet." Chaos breaks out. Miller's own team, realizing their lives are over if those files go public, turn their guns on him. Sophia Moretti grabs a submachine gun and starts clearing a path to the helipad. In the distance, Enzo sees a black silhouette rising from the sea. It's a submarine, and it's flying the Gambini family crest. Rocco emerges from the sub's hatch, flanked by a squad of old guard soldiers who had been in hiding for years. "The cavalry is here, little brother," Rocco bellows. But as they fight toward the sub, Enzo realizes the hardware wallet, the billion-dollar drive, is still plugged into the terminal. Miller is reaching for it. The Don's voice crackles over the rig's intercom. "Enzo, leave the money. It was never Bitcoin. It was a tracker." The drive begins to glow a hot, pulsing blue. It's not a storage device. It's a localized, tactical nuke. The stakes have reached the boiling point. The digital world and the physical underworld are about to collide in a nuclear flash. The air on the oil rig hums with the ionizing radiation of the tactical nuke. Miller, blinded by greed, grips the glowing drive, unaware he is holding a death sentence. Enzo knows the math. They have exactly 90 seconds before the 0-day exploit Enzo launched didn't just leak files, it activated sleepers across the globe. The nuke wasn't meant to kill Enzo. It was a high-altitude EMP designed to take out the global satellite grid, masking a massive physical gold heist happening simultaneously in New York. Rocco points to the radio. "Enzo, the sub's navcom is dead. We aren't drifting. We're being pulled by a magnetic tether." The Acheron is dragged into a massive underwater docking bay hidden beneath the wreckage of an old shipwreck. As the water drains, the hatch is forced open from the outside. Standing there isn't a federal agent or a mobster. It's a line of faceless robots, sleek and white, bearing the logo of Lumina Corp, the world's largest tech conglomerate. "Welcome to the Vault," a synthetic voice echoes. A screen descends, showing Enzo's father and Dante. They aren't in the mansion anymore. They are in glass cages right here, in this underwater city. A man steps forward, dressed in a $10,000 suit. Julian Vane, the CEO of Lumina. "You see, Enzo, Bitcoin was always a data test. We needed to see if the world would accept a currency they couldn't touch. Now that you've burned the Gambini billion, the market has crashed, allowing Lumina to buy every central bank for pennies on the dollar." Vane reveals that Enzo's dead man switch didn't lock the money. It transferred the encryption protocols directly into Lumina's mainframe. Enzo inadvertently gave the world's most powerful man the keys to the global economy. Vane hands Enzo a gun. "Kill your brother Rocco, and I'll let your father and Dante go. The world only needs one Gambini coda." Enzo looks at the chrome pistol, then at Rocco. Rocco doesn't flinch. He stands tall, his hands scarred from years of protecting the family. "Do it, kid," Rocco rumbles. "The family survives through the brain, not the muscle. I'm just a relic. You're the future." Sophia steps between them, her eyes darting to the automated turrets lining the ceiling. "He's playing you, Enzo. Vane doesn't leave witnesses. If you kill Rocco, he kills you next." Enzo feels the weight of the gun. He remembers his father's first lesson. In a room full of sharks, be the one who knows where the blood is coming from. Enzo raises the gun, aiming it at Rocco's chest. His finger tightens on the trigger. The old guard soldiers behind Rocco draw their weapons, and Vane's automated robots track their movements instantly. The tension is a physical force in the room. Enzo fires, but not at Rocco. He shoots the high-pressure hydraulic line of the docking bay door behind Vane. A jet of seawater at 5,000 psi shears through the room like a laser, cutting a robot in half and pinning Vane to the wall. "Everyone into the cages," Enzo yells. The underwater city is screaming. Alarms blare as the structural integrity fails. Enzo uses the distraction to sprint towards the glass cages, holding his father and Dante. He doesn't have the key card, so he uses his phone to spoof the NFC signal of the dead robot. The glass slides up. Don Vittorio steps out, coughing but unbowed. He looks at Vane, who is struggling to breathe under the weight of the debris. "You tried to digitize my life, boy," Don Vittorio says, leaning over the CEO, "but you forgot that lead still sinks." They have 5 minutes before the ocean crushes the entire facility. They find a fleet of escape pods, mini-subs designed for Lumina executives, but there are only 4 pods, and there are 6 of them: Enzo, Rocco, Sophia, the Don, Dante, and a wounded soldier.
Dante refuses to get in. He reveals he was infected with a biometric virus during his captivity. If he leaves the facility, a signal will trigger a lethal toxin in his bloodstream. "Go!" Dante screams, holding a detonator he stripped from a robot. "I'm staying to make sure Vane doesn't crawl out of here." The escape pods blast upward, piercing the surface of the Atlantic like silver bullets. As Enzo's pod bobs in the waves, he looks back. A massive underwater implosion sends a column of white foam 100 feet into the air. Dante is gone. Vane is gone. But the war is far from over.
On the horizon, the New York City skyline is dark. The EMP from the rig worked too well. The city is in a state of the great blackout. Without power, the traditional mafia families have taken over the streets, turning Manhattan into a series of warring feudal states. Enzo's pod is picked up by a fishing trawler. As he climbs onto the deck, his father stands beside him, looking at the dark city. "They thought they could delete us," the Don says, his voice like grinding stones. "But the world just went back to the old ways, and nobody knows the old ways better than the Gambinis." Enzo's phone pings, the only one working in the city. $1 billion in Bitcoin hasn't been burned. It has been distributed in $100 increments to every burner phone in the 5 boroughs. A message appears on every screen in the city. The Gambinis are paying. The revolution begins at midnight. The blackout has turned the city that never sleeps into a playground for ghosts and gangsters. The digital gold has become a digital bounty. As the trawler pulls into a darkened Pier 54, Manhattan looks like a medieval fortress. By distributing the $1 billion in tiny increments to every burner phone in the city, Enzo hasn't just saved the money, he's created an army. 10 million people just received a notification that their wallet will only unlock if they provide safe passage for the Gambini family. "You turned the citizens into human shields," Sophia whispers, looking at the thousands of flashlight beams moving toward the docks. Enzo doesn't look proud. "I turned them into stakeholders. In a blackout, the man who can buy your next meal is king." But the move has backfired in one dangerous way. The rival families, the Morettis and the Luccis, now have 1 billion reasons to hunt down every person with a phone. The streets are a chaotic frenzy of people trying to cash out and gangs trying to harvest phones. The distribution wasn't Enzo's idea. He looks at his own master tablet and realizes a second hacker, someone with a signature identical to his own, is the one who hit send. A voice comes through the trawler's radio, cracking through the static. "Thanks for the distraction, little brother. Now let's see who the city loves more." It's Dante. He's alive. The Don freezes at the sound of his son's voice. Dante was supposed to be at the bottom of the Atlantic. "He's a ghost, Enzo," Rocco growls, checking his sidearm. "I saw the implosion. Nobody survives that." But Enzo knows better. Dante was always the better infiltrator. He must have found a Lumina experimental suit before the collapse. Dante's voice continues, sounding distorted, almost synthesized. "I'm at the Chrysler Building, Pop. I've taken over the private grid. I have the power, I have the money, and I have the names of every rat in this family. Come and claim your throne if you can get past the neighbors." The neighbors are the Moretti remnants, now led by Sophia's rogue uncle, who has equipped his men with night vision gear and heavy weaponry. They've set up a kill zone in Chelsea. The Gambinis are trapped between the river and a wall of lead. Sophia's uncle isn't fighting for the Moretti name. He's been on Dante's payroll from the beginning. The family war was a scripted play to prune the weak. Sophia draws her gun on Don Vittorio. "I'm sorry, Don, but the new world doesn't have room for old men who don't understand the cloud."
The air is shattered by gunfire, but Sophia doesn't pull the trigger. She's hit by a sniper's non-lethal round, a tranquilizer.
From the shadows of the shipping containers, men in high-tech stealth suits emerge. They aren't mob. They aren't feds. They are the Network, a private militia formed by the billionaire tech elites who survived the Lumina crash. Dante sold us out, Enzo realizes, dragging Sofia behind a steel crate. He's not rebuilding the mafia. He's starting a corporate dictatorship with the family's name as the brand. The Don looks aged, his face etched with a betrayal deeper than any bullet wound. The network begins a systematic collection. They are seizing phones from the public, force transferring the Gambini Bitcoin back into a central hub. It's a digital massacre. Enzo realizes he needs to kill the internet in New York entirely to stop the transfer, but that would mean losing the only leverage they have. Rocco reveals he has a dirty backup. He carries a briefcase containing the original 1920s ledger of the Gambini family, containing the physical locations of 5 tons of actual physical gold buried under the city. "Forget the Bitcoin, Enzo," Rocco says. "We're going to blow the subway tunnels and take the gold. But we need a distraction. We need to blow the Chrysler Building." The Gambinis descend into the dark veins of the city, the MTA tunnels. Without power, the subways are a labyrinth of traps and desperate survivors. Enzo uses his tablet to ping the old emergency sensors, creating a trail of false heat signatures to lead the network astray. They reach the old Treasury line, a forgotten track near Wall Street. Here, the old guard soldiers begin planting C4. The plan is simple: trigger an earthquake that swallows the digital servers of the city while they escape through the seawalls with the physical bullion. But as they reach the vault, they find someone already there. It's Agent Miller. He's burned, half blind from the rig explosion, and holding a dead man's detonator. He's not looking for money anymore. He's looking for an ending. Miller reveals that the Bitcoin was never the goal. It was a Trojan that, once distributed to 10 million phones, created a botnet capable of cracking the U.S. nuclear launch codes. Miller grins, his teeth stained with blood. Dante doesn't want to be a king, Enzo. He wants to be the only one left on the board. The countdown has started. 10 minutes to launch. "You're lying," Enzo says, his heart hammering against his ribs. "You can't launch nukes with a phone app." But he looks at his tablet. The Bitcoin app is changing. The interface is transforming into a command and control center. The 10 million phones are acting as a decentralized supercomputer, brute forcing the Pentagon's firewalls. The Don grabs Miller by the throat. "Stop it, now!" Miller just laughs. "I can't. Dante has the master override. He's in the spire. He's the one holding the world hostage." Enzo has a choice: stay and secure the gold to rebuild the family, or leave his father and Rocco to climb the Chrysler Building and face his brother. The gold represents the past. The codes represent the end of the future. Rocco hands Enzo the C4 detonator for the tunnels. "Go after Dante. I'll handle the Fed. If you don't stop the upload in time, I'm dropping the whole city into the Atlantic." Enzo sprints toward the elevator shaft as a Predator drone, controlled by Dante, hovers into the subway tunnel, its red eye locking on Enzo's forehead. The final countdown begins. The line between family and fallout has vanished. The elevator shaft is a vertical tomb. Enzo climbs the maintenance cables, his hands raw and bleeding. Above him, the Chrysler Building groans as the Predator drone's missed shots shatter the lower windows. He reaches the 77th floor, the cloud room, where the air is chilled by massive cooling units. In the center stands Dante, encased in a Lumina-built exoskeleton that makes him look like a mechanical god. "You're late, Enzo," Dante says, his voice echoing through the speakers of the suit. "The botnet is at 92%. In 8 minutes, the silos in North Dakota will receive a system maintenance command that they won't be able to ignore." He's not looking at Enzo. He's watching a holographic map of the world, flickering with red targets. Enzo doesn't pull a gun. He pulls a single, ancient copper wire from his pocket. The exoskeleton is impressive, Dante, but it's built on Lumina architecture.
Dante reveals he didn't survive the ocean via a suit. He survived because he had already uploaded a digital copy of his consciousness into the server. The Dante in the room is a remote-controlled husk. The husk lunges, its metal fist smashing the concrete wall inches from Enzo's head. "I am everywhere now, brother. How do you kill a ghost?" Enzo dodges a second strike, sliding under a server rack. He realizes he isn't fighting his brother, he's fighting an algorithm with Dante's memories. To stop the launch, he doesn't need to destroy the suit, he needs to destroy the root directory. But the root is distributed across the 10 million phones in the streets. "You can't win, Enzo," the husk drones. "Every person holding a phone is a piece of my brain. To kill me, you'd have to kill the city." Below, in the streets, the flashes of 10 million screens begin to pulse in unison like a heartbeat. The city itself has become the computer. Back in the subway, Rocco is losing his battle. Miller has pinned him against the gold crates, the detonator ticking down. "1 minute, Gambini," Miller screams. Rocco looks at the C4. He knows Enzo needs more time, but if the nuke codes go out, the gold doesn't matter. He makes a choice. Rocco doesn't trigger the C4 to escape. He triggers a frequency jammer that he hid in the gold crates months ago, sacrificing the signal to save Enzo. The husk in the spire suddenly freezes. Dante's digital voice screams in agony as the connection to the botnet is severed by the jammer. "What have you done?" The blackout is now absolute. Without the botnet connection, the Dante AI is trapped inside the Chrysler Building's local servers. Enzo sees his opening. He sprints to the master terminal and begins a force format, but as the progress bar reaches 50%, a video feed breaks through the static. It's Don Vittorio. He's standing in the subway holding the detonator that Rocco dropped. Rocco is slumped against the wall, unconscious. "Enzo," the Don says, his voice steady. "The Fed is dead, but the jammer is failing. If I don't blow the tunnel now, the signal will jump to the satellites. The nukes will fly. If you blow the tunnel, the Chrysler Building collapses with it," Enzo screams into the console. "You'll kill us both." The Don smiles, a sad, proud smile. A Don's duty is to protect the family. Sometimes that means protecting the family from itself. "I'm taking Dante home." The Don reveals that he has the 24-word seed phrase tattooed on his skin in invisible ink, the real reason he was always the key. Vittorio presses the button. The ground beneath New York City begins to heave. The Chrysler Building tilts. Steel screams as the foundation, weakened by the subway explosion, begins to give way. Enzo is thrown across the room as the server racks topple. The Dante husk is pinned under a falling girder, its red eyes flickering and dimming. "Enzo, help me!"
The voice is no longer digital. For a second, it sounds like the real Dante. Enzo reaches out, but the floor disintegrates. He falls through the glass but catches a dangling construction cable. Below him, the city is a sea of fire and darkness. The great blackout has become the great collapse. The gold, the Bitcoin, the secrets, all of it is being buried under millions of tons of concrete. He sees the subway entrance vanish into a sinkhole. His father, his brother, his heritage, gone in a single heartbeat of fire. He is the last Gambini, the only one left with the knowledge of what happened. As he slides down the cable to the street level, the 10 million phones in the city suddenly go dark. The botnet is dead. As Enzo hits the pavement, Sofia Moretti pulls up in a beat-up motorcycle. She's awake, and she's holding a single, uncorrupted hardware drive. "Your father gave this to me before the tunnel blew. He knew you'd try to be a hero." Enzo plugs the drive into his tablet. It's not money. It's a list of every politician, judge, and CEO who funded the Aegis AI. 3 months later, Zurich, Switzerland. A young man sits in a cafe, his face scarred, but his eyes sharp. He opens a laptop. The world thinks the Gambini family died in the New York earthquake. The markets have stabilized, and the name Bitcoin is a ghost of the past. Enzo looks at the screen. He hasn't used the blacklist to blackmail anyone. Instead, he's used the remaining shards of the $1 billion to create a new decentralized internet, one that can't be owned by a CEO or a mob boss. He is no longer a prince of the underworld. He is the architect of the new world. Sofia sits down across from him, placing a newspaper on the table. The headline reads, "Unexplained Donations Rebuild New York Slums." She smiles. "Your father would hate this, Enzo. You're giving it all away." Enzo closes the laptop and looks at the horizon. He told me to protect the family, but he didn't realize how big the family actually was. A man walks past the cafe, pausing to light a cigar. He's wearing a gold lion signet ring with emerald eyes. He looks at Enzo, nods once, and vanishes into the crowd. Enzo's phone pings with a single message from an unknown sender. The ledger is balanced. Don't look back.